What's up? And welcome back to another unboxing review with Gizmo Slip Tech. Today we have the Gigabyte G6X. This is basically the budget gaming laptop for 2024 for Gigabyte. It's 16 by 10. I think they might be still making one or two other options out there, but this I think is their main one. We're going to be taking a look at everything about this laptop today. We've got, as you can see, a huge list of things we're going to talk about. We're going to go over the biggest pros and cons, unbox the laptop, weight, hinge, flex test, B-roll, remove the bottom, internal analysis. B-roll is new for today. I've got a little spinny thing we're going to do to check it out. We're going to remove the bottom, internal analysis, review the ports, check out the BIOS, check out the bloatware, webcam quality, keyboard, mouse, display, laptop control software, speaker test, fan noise test, and then a bunch of benchmarks and video game testing. And so, yeah, is this laptop worth your money? Let's take a look at the configurations right off the bat. All right, so the configs, let's see here. So there's two primary configs. This is the more expensive RTX 4060 variant. It comes with 32 gigs of RAM, which is a lot of RAM for a more budget-oriented laptop, as well as a 1 terabyte SSD, which is quite generous. And it's 16 by 10 aspect ratio, which is also more rare for laptops that are on the more budget focus. Now, the key areas I think that make this more budget target friendly is going to be your more plasticky build, and then a plastic touchpad, a lower quality keyboard, port selection not going to be quite as good, and the CPU is an i7, but it's a 13th gen, and it's a 13620H, which means it has reduced number of cores. It has 6 P cores and 4 E cores. So let's take a look at the two different configs that you have as an option. So you can get this with an RTX 4060, which is the one we're going to be checking out today, or a 4050. I believe it's a $200 difference between the two if you were to be buying them. Now, if we pop over to the actual place where you can buy this, there is a link in the description. If you do want to pick this up at the end of the live stream, I'm trying to give you a completely unbiased review here. This is not a sponsored review. This is a review unit sent over by Gigabyte. I did not pay for this one, and I'm not being paid in any way to sponsor this. But yeah, this is currently on sale for $150 off for $1049. And you can see this is the lowest price that this laptop has been at in the last 6 months. You can see on this sheet here. And when I see these specs and this, price to performance here, there's a couple things here that stand out to me right off the bat. Again, we're kind of right now we're kind of in the biggest pros and cons over here. And the thing is, this thing, not only does it have less cores with this i7 13620H, it also has a lower total GPU power limit. So 75 watts on the RTX 4060 is not near the max. The max being, of course, closer to like 105 or 110 for an RTX 4060. So you're only getting about 3/4 of the potential power approximately. We'll see what we get in Time Spy today. But that's a downside for this laptop, which again makes it more budget oriented. It's also only 5 pounds, which is great. But one of the reasons why it's only 5 pounds is it only has a 54 watt hour battery, which makes it lighter, but not as long of battery life. Now, Srinad says 13th gen at the end of 2024. I don't think there's anything wrong with a 13th gen processor in 2024. There was almost no difference between a 13th gen and a 14th gen processor. It is totally fine to save some money and go with a 13th gen processor. Like your frame rates in the vast majority of games will be completely unaffected. And overall performance and core counts were very similar between 13th and 14th gen. So yeah, that doesn't really matter. currently, 13th to 14th gen. I had no incentive to upgrade from 13th to 14th gen when that came out. And I don't think it really should be too big of a buying decision maker here. The bigger buying factor here is just that there's less cores on this i7-13620H. So let's talk alternatives. If you were to go for something else, what are some other alternatives? Well, right here on my gaming laptop list, which is linked in the description down below, you can see there are some pretty good deals right now. Some pretty good deals. $769 for Lenovo Lock 15. So, I mean, there's some downsides to this one, but that is a lot more bang for the buck, considering it is $300, almost $280 cheaper with an RTX 4060, and it's a higher TDP RTX 4060 to boot. You have the Acer Nitro V16 with a Ryzen processor. I like this Ryzen processor more than the i7-13620H. RTX 4060 and about the same quality display. $859, also I think a better deal. Then you have the Asus TUF F15 with an RTX 4070 with a potentially arguably better display. I haven't tested this one in the Gigabyte yet, but I did like this Asus TUF F15. This is one of the best deals right now. I really like this F15. It's a really good deal. And then you can get a little higher quality display with QHD resolution with the Acer Nitro 16 with a QHD 165 Hz. So these are like currently the top 5 deals, but if you were to go for one of these, I'd probably say go for, yeah, I'd say probably the Nitro 16. If you're right around $1,000, the Nitro 16 is a better deal, and the Asus TUF F15 is also a better deal. Both of those are better deals than the Gigabyte G6X currently. But if the G6X goes on sales to like $800, then you got, the G6X is now back in the running for a legitimate option. The Lock 15, $769. That's a lot of value. All right, that is a lot of value. Okay, so again, links in the description to all of these, including the Gigabyte G6X, and of course on the list, there's links to all of the gaming laptops for 2024. So let's move into the next section. So biggest pros and cons, basically processor weaker, chassis build quality more plastic, keyboard quality maybe not as good, and yeah, I mean, for a budget-oriented laptop, it's pretty competitive in most other ways. Pros on this one, definitely higher SSD size and RAM capacity included out of the box is really nice. And then the quality of the 16:10 aspect ratio display hopefully is good. Haven't tested it yet. And hopefully the temperatures and thermals in this will also be good because it does have a lower power limit, which should aid the temperatures and thermals to be quite good still. Okay, what's up, everyone? I see a bunch of people hopping in chat. Let's do this. Okay, so next segment is unboxing the laptop. Let's do it. So we've got 2 camera angles that we can use today. I'll just give you a quick once over on the box itself, and then we'll go to the vertical top down. So the Gigabyte G6X right here, and you get a little bit of specs right here on the side. It's not much there, but pretty basic box. Let's go to the top down angle. So here it is. Let's pop it open. Voila. There it is. And is this metal or is this plastic on top? I think this is I think the top is metal. Yeah, the top here is metal, but plastic on the touchpad, plastic on the internal hinge here cover, and of course, plastic on the underside here as well. So there is definitely a lot of plastic on this guy. And that's certainly one of the downsides of going with this laptop compared to some of the more expensive laptops that might be on sale, or, you know, depending on if you want to go for maybe a build quality that's better, but maybe specs that are a little bit worse, or other trade-offs. All right, so there's the power brick. We'll see the length of that here. Let's go ahead and open this up. So this guy right here is only about 3 feet long or so, maybe even 2.5 feet long. Very short power cable. Let's check the power adapter. Power adapter cable is about 6 feet long. I'd say we definitely wish we could have a longer power reach with the power adapter overall. Let's go ahead and take a look at our pamphlets that were included in today's box. Oh, that's cool. All right, so we got ourselves an extra screw in case, you know, you are taking it apart and you lose a screw, you got a backup. That's nice. All right, and then you also have a little SSD heatsink, and then this also, I believe, would go potentially under the SSD to support it. I'm guessing this is if you wanted to add a second SSD, because there's probably an empty slot on the inside. We got the Gigabyte Aorus warranty card. This is not an Aorus laptop, but Gigabyte's basically, you know, Gigabyte is Aorus at this point, and it's pretty much the same thing. And yeah, 1-year warranty on the battery. Pretty sure it's going to be a 1-year warranty on pretty much everything here. You need to register it with proof of purchase. Yeah, that's pretty much all standard. Let's see what else we got here. All right, so using the Gigabyte notebook for the first time. Let me scoot this back. Oh, just a little bit so I can show this better. Switching on the power, plug in the notebook, and then of course you have your little guide. USB 3.2 Gen 1 for the Type A, 3.2 Gen 2 for the Type C, and its power delivery. You can see DC in charging on that, HDMI 2.1, 3.2 Gen 2 for the Type C, so there's 2 Type Cs, that's good. Keyboard, touchpad, power button, panel switch, everything else is pretty simple. I think that's going to be everything that's in this. I think there's just going to be other versions of the language here on this sheet. Pretty much. So that's everything that's included in the box. Pretty simple overall unboxing. Let's go ahead and just put this stuff away. Move on to taking a closer look at the laptop. What's up, Arif? He said, oh my God, I caught a live. I thought you were... I've been sick for the last way too long. Like week and a half, 2 weeks basically. It has been a harrowing couple of weeks. I had a sore throat, and then I got the stomach flu before the sore throat was quite gone, and so that's why I wasn't able to live stream the last week and a half or so, but I'm back now. Literally started feeling better only like a day and a half ago, 2 days ago, so. Okay, so we're going to need to plug this in somewhere. Let's see here. Let's plug it in. Yeah, I am feeling better now. Let's see if this will work for it. Okay, so. Ooh, look at that. We got the spinny laptop now. So we're going to let it do a couple of spins. We're going to get some fancy B-roll. And we'll do a couple different positions. But you can see it's got some nice etching and design work on one corner over here. I do like that. And then you got the Gigabyte logo over here. Metal top lid. All right, let's go ahead and open this up. And we'll let it spinny. Ooh. So pretty. Look at the laptop spin, spin. All right. We'll change the camera angle here for a moment. And we'll go here. You guys get to see the magic as we create the B-roll for the review. Let me hide. Let me just hide this and that. There we go. Very nice. All right, let's zoom it out. So you can see it's got this soft rubber type of a keyboard to it with currently blue backlighting. I think it's a single zone RGB, though it might be only one color. I haven't dived into the software enough to check yet. Got some nice lines to the laptop. We've got a giant, big, single hinge connector that goes through the entire underside here of the hinge. Let's go ahead and tilt this forward, and let's go ahead and get some shots of the Gigabyte logo as it goes by. Ooh, pretty. All right, and let's go ahead and just get some really zoomed in shots here. This does have the Microsoft Copilot button on this laptop. You can see the ports on the back. We got an Ethernet port downward facing, HDMI 2.1, power cable, USB-C. On the left side, we have our Kensington lock USB-A headset port. Some status indicator lights here on the front right, which is interesting. Not many laptops are doing those anymore. They usually just use the power button to indicate. Then we got another USB-A and another USB-C over here on the right side with another heat exhaust. Pretty interesting I'd say overall aesthetic to this laptop, it seems very old school, which some people are going to really like, but I think a lot of the younger generation probably won't unless they're more of a hipster vibe type person. I don't know. What do you guys think of the design of this laptop? Is it outdated? Is it modern? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts? Let me know in chat. I personally am not a huge fan of it. I think it could use a lot of improvement. So we'll get some overall rotational shots here. Let it spinny spin a couple times. RF says, not like it as in an old person. Does 4070's manufacturer after 2024 have the update that lets them run at nearly 1 volt instead of 0.9? I'm not sure. I don't think that NVIDIA is going to change it unless they tell everyone that they're going to change the specs on the 4070. They might do a rename on the specs. I don't know. But they probably would name it like 4070 Ti if they're going to run it at a higher boost clock. The dude says it's honestly boring and too plain, not because it doesn't have RGB. See, I think that what they need to do is probably either go more simplistic with the laptop design, or they need to go more extreme. Like, it needs to either be a true gamer computer or a true, like, what is it? Like, undercover gaming computer. One of those two. It can't just be like this in between where it's got, more of an undercover overall aesthetic, and then it's actually got like these gamer aesthetics like mixed in with an RGB keyboard and some aggressive styling like this cross stitch patterning and some of the cross stitch things here and the way the angled vents are and everything. Like, either make it a pure gaming laptop or make it and make, when I say make it a pure gaming laptop, I mean make it like, colorful, more RGB to make gamers like truly embrace it as like, this is going to be my gaming laptop. Like, that's what they are like all about. Or they're going to be like, nah, I just want something that's really simple and plain that I can take into a business meeting or a college room, a classroom without having to worry about people making fun of me. Like, they got to go for one or the other, I think. And right now I think they're doing too much in the middle. So those are my thoughts currently on the design. Let me go ahead and put my turns table away. And we're going to need to plug in the laptop as well. Though we don't really need to plug it in just yet. Because we'll actually need to shut it down soon. Zamrock says these are Tongfeng laptops. They all have the same design. So I think, is this actually a Tongfeng or is this a Clevo? But I thought this was a Clevo chassis, but it could be a Tongfeng. Does it say on the bottom? It could also just be made by Gigabyte too. I'm not sure what this one is. But it could be a rebranded for this lineup. I know that I thought it was a Clevo one for the 2023 version. Okay, but really depending on your region, right? So the prices I went over at the beginning, which is currently $1049 for this laptop, that price is in the US. And if you're getting this one might actually be one of those laptops because of the nature of how it's made and everything. It might be cheaper in certain markets, like in Asian markets, compared to other companies that might be pricing their laptops higher. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's see here. What's next today? Hinge test, flex test, and weighing the laptop. Let's do that, okay? So we'll go ahead and weigh the laptop next. So Gigabyte claims 5 pounds. Let's see how accurate that is. So this is actually showing 5 pounds, 10 ounces. Well, really? Let's zero this out again, because that has a big difference. £5, 9.9, 10, yeah, 10 ounces. So we're looking at, was that 5.65 pounds? That's a big difference from the rated specs. They should probably make a correction on how much the laptop weighs, because that's more than halfway to 6 pounds. So 5.6 pounds, 5.65 pounds, something in that range. Pretty wild. If we weigh it with the power adapter, I just plugged the power adapter. I'm not going to do it with the power adapter. We're just going to move on. It's more than the specifications for sure. Okay, flex test, hinge test. Here we go. First, one finger opening, no problem. One finger closing, no problem. Rigidity of the hinge. There is a bit of wobble to it, but the hinge is, I'd say, average in terms of quality of hinge feel. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's not super firm. It's not super flimsy. It doesn't move super easily. And I would say it keeps a pretty even feel to it, but it's it's a little too wobbly for my perfect taste to be like, yeah, this is a great hinge. And then let's go ahead and see at what point it falls. So yeah, it doesn't hold the screen up super well. Let's go ahead and do a flex test now. Okay. No flex, a bit of flex right here. Yeah, I mean, just a little flex here, but it's mainly the rubber feet. Quite a bit of flex, a bit of flex, no flex again in the corner. Very common to have very little flex. Some flex here on the left wrist rest, which I don't like to see much flex where you're going to be resting your hands. It's not bad, but it's not super firm like I love. So a little bit of flex in the middle on the left, coming up the other side. No flex in the corner again. Some decent flex in the top. No flex in the corner again. Little bit of flex. Coming over to the keyboard, this is usually where it's going to flex the most. And yeah, that's quite a bit of flex. Good amount of flex. It's not terrible flex, but it's not great. It's a pretty bendy laptop overall, not super rigid. This is a 16:10 aspect ratio display. That's one of the main advantages to this laptop compared to the 2023 version, which had 16:9. So this 16:10 aspect ratio is kind of designed for 2024. Okay, so there's the hinge, flex test, weight test. We did our B-roll. Time to remove the bottom and do internal analysis. Go ahead and shut this bad boy down. Flip it over and take it apart. Okay, so you can see all those copper heat sinks on the inside. It looks like maybe some copper plating too, so heat plates. Is that a third fan? That might be a third fan. I'm not sure. Interesting. Does this have a 3-fan design? I wasn't expecting a 3-fan design in a laptop that only has a 70-watt GPU TDP. All right, so we're looking at Phillips head screwdriver for this guy, which is just fine. I'm happy to deal with Phillips heads. I do think, I mean, Phillips head's nice because it's easy to get your hands on a Phillips head, but I do prefer like a T5 or T6 Torx. My metric brain can't comprehend the pound scale. And Zamrock says, your brain needs freedom units. That's pretty funny, chat. Mosan says, Gigabyte is the king of cooling. I would say they're usually pretty good about cooling, but the problem is they usually are so good at cooling because they limit the power limit of the internal component. At least that's one of the key reasons why they're good at cooling. And then it ends up making the laptop weaker compared to the competition sometimes. So that's, and I don't like to see that necessarily. I like to see high power and good cooling in the same laptop. Okay. Well, we'll see what it does today, right? I do know that it is around a 70-watt GPU TDP though. So, okay. There's the all the screws out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 screws. All right, and let's just go ahead and take this bad boy apart. What angle of attack should I go for? Let's go for this corner, I think. E. It's pretty seamless right now. Okay, I got a little edge up. Good, good. Wow. Kind of hard to get it to go over to the middle. There we go. There's kind of an extra big lip underneath the very front part of the laptop that makes it kind of hard to get it started in the front. You kind of got to get it started on the side and then bring it around to the front. It's kind of what it feels like. There we go. All right, so there's the laptop apart there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the internal. Let's do a little zoomy zoom. And a little refocus. There we go. Voila. There's it. There it is. Interesting. That is not a fan. That's just, I guess, another little cooling doodad, whatever you want to call it. Let's turn on. I'm looking for. Interesting. Okay, well. Deceptive cooling, no vapor chamber. No, I don't think it's vapor chamber. I never thought it was vapor chamber. I mean, we've got 3 heat pipes. Looks like 3 continuous heat pipes spread over heat plates. So, like, got this big heat plate right here, and then another big heat plate here. And so these are going to spread over the VRMs, as well as the actual cooling for the CPU and the GPU. And then we've got, let's just do a quick evaluation of all the other internal components. We got our speakers right here and here. We got our SSD, and we have our SSD slot that's open right here if we want to add another NVMe SSD. I believe it's 2 NVMe SSDs. Checking. Yes, PCIe NVMe M.2 SSD slots. So there's 2 of those here. Then we've got DDR5 4800 megahertz memory, which I'm guessing is just because it's an i7-1620H. But no, this is actually DDR5 4800 RAM sticks. I was going to say it's probably just because it's limited from the processing speed. And it may be that way, but this is Samsung RAM on the inside of this laptop, which is great. You can see it's a 16 gig 1RX8 PC5 4800. And we'll take a look at our RAM speed test. It's single-sided on this. And pop it back in. But 32 gigs of RAM right there. We've got our interesting, we have a 73 watt hour battery. What is this? So Gigabyte specs, I'm looking at it right here. Gigabyte specs are wrong. They say this only has a 54 watt hour battery and it weighs 5.07 pounds, but it actually has a 73 watt hour battery in reality, and it weighs 5.6 pounds. So it's another half pound because we got a bigger battery in here. That's why it weighs more. Okay, well, we got to the bottom of what's going on there. It also says there's a micro SD card reader on this, and I did not see that on the initial look around. We'll have to see if we can find that. Maybe is it on the back? I don't see it on the back. I don't see it on the sides. Where's the micro SD card reader? Interesting. Am I looking at the right laptop? I think I am. Is this the right laptop? Let's see. Gigabyte G6X. Oh, maybe. I wonder if this is supposed to be the right laptop. Is this the correct laptop? This may be the correct laptop. What? Okay, well, this might make more sense. Let's see here. G6X, which is, yeah, so this is supposed to have a 13650HX, which has 8 E-cores. Okay, so we may have got the specs wrong at the initial launch of this video, but we're getting things correct now, I think. So, okay. i7-13650HX. Let's see with the weight. Is the weight line up? 5.64 pounds. Yes. And it's a 73 watt hour battery. Okay. This is the right laptop now. Okay. Very nice. 13650HX for the CPU instead of 13620H. So this is going to be a better CPU for multi-core rendering because it has additional E-cores. All right. Cool. And this is also, according to this, 105 watts total GDP on the GPU, which is a lot better than 70, but we'll need to check that because in my testing, I thought it was closer to 70. We'll be double checking that today as we continue through this live stream. So we're going to get to the bottom of all of this. I promise, because we got the laptop right here and we're going to get it all figured out. Okay, so continuing the analysis. 2 SODIMM slots are upgradable. Is the Wi-Fi card accessible? Yes, it's underneath this SSD right here. And this SSD, I cannot see any brand on the SSD. Okay. Overall cooling analysis. So we've got this heat pipe that goes over both fan exhausts on the left and right side. Same for this one, left and right sides. 2 that go over just the front right here, just for the main rear. I think this will probably cool a 105 watt GPU just fine, with no issues. Speakers look pretty weak overall. We'll have to see what they sound like. I imagine they'll be fine for some casual gaming, but probably not that high quality of audio overall. Let's go ahead and put the cover back on here, and we'll find out some more when we pop into the BIOS. Anything else I need to do in here? I don't think so. $105 watts seems more realistic. Yeah, and since we're on the G6X, I don't think, this does not list a micro SD card slot, right? So there is no micro SD card slot on this. I'm glad we figured out that we were looking at the wrong laptop for the specs. But yeah, there's no micro SD card slot listed on the official G6X specs. So when you're looking at the correct spec sheet, there is no micro SD card. Let's pop this thing back together. The Cinebench will be in about, 40 minutes probably. Usually it's about an hour and a half in. Depends on how fast we move through all of the peripherals and software examples. Three more screws. If you need a kit to take laptops apart and put them back together, link is in the description. Magnetic screwdriver, just like this one, with different types of screw tips, makes it so much easier to take laptops apart and put them back together without hurting them, with the plastic pry tools as well that are included, like these. All right, so let's flip her over. There we go. Power on. Delete and F2, pressing delete and F2, trying to get into the BIOS. Bingo. And I can see different colors popping up, by the way, on the keyboard there. So it definitely is a multicolor RGB keyboard. All right, this BIOS is pretty interesting. Trying to get it to be very visible here. All right, so I can control it with a mouse or my arrow keys. All right, so I'm doing the arrow keys right now. Setup utility. BIOS version. Is there like a... There's like almost no options here. So I think setup utility. Yes, this is going to get us what I was looking for. So you can see we've got the i7-13650HX in here, 32 gigs of RAM. Very nice. Under advanced chipset control. You do have a MUX, so you can currently we're on hybrid mode. We can switch it into discrete GPU only mode, which is good. We'll do that for our benchmark testing anyway. Flexi charger. If you set the flexi charger to enable, note that over time the battery's meter reading accuracy will deteriorate. Interesting. I wonder what flexi charger actually does, though. It doesn't really tell you. Maybe that's how you can prevent it from charging all the way up. There is not many settings here in the BIOS, but that's the BIOS, and that's what we got. Battery storage setting. Shipping mode. Interesting. We didn't make any changes anyway. We'll just go ahead and save it as we reboot. Okay, so the BIOS, not really much you can do in there. There's not much reason to really go in there. These components really aren't that customizable. The MUX switch was pretty much the only thing in there, but I think we can probably access the MUX switch just using the Gigabyte control software. All right, let's go ahead and analyze and review the ports on this bad guy. Well, it's rebooting, so let's back it out. And we'll look along the right side. Let me zoom in over here. We'll boost display just a little bit. Okay. On the right side, we have our USB-A and then a USB-C. This is, I believe this is just the USB, so right side, 3.2 Gen 2 for USB type A and C, and this is power delivery 3.0 as well included. On the rear, we have our Ethernet port, HDMI 2.1 power adapter port, and then USB-C 3.2 with DisplayPort 1.4 support on this USB-C. So no power delivery, but we have DisplayPort 1.4, so you need to do high quality display outputs. There's HDMI and DisplayPort there. Then we've got another USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 instead of Gen 2, and then a headphone combo jack with a Kensington lock port over here on the left. So ports are pretty bare bones. Only 4 total USBs, at least 2 of them are USB-C, but I'd prefer to have 5 total USBs, so that's kind of a downside. And then there's no SD card slot at all, so I'd prefer to have a full-size SD card if possible. And we're just missing both of those, so that's too bad. Overall, ports are pretty just a little bit below average is what the way I'll describe them. Bloatware evaluation. Okay, so as far as bloatware goes on this laptop, it was, I don't think it came with any antivirus. Let me check if I took any screenshots. I do, as I'm setting the laptops up now, I take screenshots of any pop-ups or bloatware, and I did not. I wonder if we have Gigabyte's control software on here. We might be downloading Gigabyte's control software right now. Because I'm not seeing it. Usually it's... Yeah, I'm not seeing it. So we're going to do here. And we're going to go to downloads. And you guys are going to get to see what it's like setting up the software. If there is one. Is there? Yeah, Control Center. Okay. We'll see how long it takes to download and install this. Let's extract. And install. So overall, the bloatware on this laptop was so minimal that it was missing the control software for the laptop. So that's pretty minimal bloatware, if there ever was a pretty minimal bloatware on a laptop. So that's pretty cool in a sense, but also a little bit worrying that we're missing the software. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just plug in my external mouse. Oh, we'll need to restart the computer. That's fine. So overall, I mean, in many ways, it's nice that there's no just spamming of antivirus and excess programs. Like it used to be so bad. Now it's mainly just Microsoft that has partnership deals with companies like Spotify to pre-install Spotify and some other ones. But yeah, I think this one may be missing the control software simply because I was so let me put myself up there on the screen again. It may be missing the control software because this is a review unit from Gigabyte, and they may have just forgot to put it on there before they sent it over to me. But I'm pretty sure their standard process is going to be having it installed. Are we installed now? Okay. Here it is. Control Center. This is revamped. This is new. And this is the first time I'm seeing this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get dialed in with the camera positioning. All right, so this is a pretty nice little overall infographic. Looks very similar to the Asus ROG Armory Crate. GPU switch, you can switch into hybrid mode or discrete mode with the mux switch right here on the control center. You've got some quick toggles on and off. Got airplane mode, touchpad disable, camera disable, num lock, screen lock, caps lock, brightness control, blue light filter, volume. We've got our fan modes, automatic, maximum, and custom. And then we also have noiseless mode. So instead of having a quiet mode, they added a noiseless mode checkbox. So a maximum, that kicks on the fans pretty much instantly. Under custom, let's see what we have. So I click custom, and now what am I customizing? Where is the, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's also performance, entertainment, and quiet. And then there's performance. So along the top, there's performance, entertainment, and quiet. And then along the bottom, there's different fan modes for each of those modes. So this is bad UI right here. There should not be two sets of things. So, because this is going to be confusing to a lot of people who are like, well, I was in maximum, but but you set it to quiet first, and now you're in maximum, and now it's actually super low power or something. Like, it's not, like, that means there's like 12 fan modes with this laptop, and there does not need to be 12. There needs to be like 3 or 4 at most. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this UI element. Asus Armory crate from the dollar store. Yeah. And there's a turbo mode too under performance. So I'm guessing, is turbo mode going to be our most powerful mode? There's also these little arrow things that make me go, what does that do? Okay, so under custom, I'm guessing under custom we can do our own fan. Yeah, so we can do our own fan curve under custom. That's what the custom aspect is. Okay. So if you want to make it fans louder, quieter, whatever you want, you can adjust them here. That's good. That's fine. And I mean, overall, most people will get this to work. If you're an advanced user, this won't be a problem at all. It's mainly just if you're a newbie user, you might be like, well, which one do I use? You gotta do a bunch of testing and figure it out. So we're going to disable the sleep timer. So it looks like there's a bunch of different colors for the keyboard backlight. And I'll just go ahead and show this to you, probably in the top-down mode. So right now let's go to blue. Can you see the backlight? I think you can see it a little bit. So the backlight, clearly if it was a dark environment, this backlight would work pretty dang well. But given how bright it is in my studio environment, it's pretty hard to see this backlight almost at all. And it looks like there's about 15 to 20 different color options going across pretty much all the different color spectrum here. I think we'll just leave it at blue. I think that's pretty much it in terms of backlight color options. You basically pick the color you want, pick the brightness setting you want, and you can have the keyboard sleep timer be enabled or disabled so that you can have it turn off. All right, so we're going to just leave the keyboard sleep timer off, brightness to the maximum. FlexiKey keyboard macro. Okay, so you can do some keyboard macros. So if you want to change what a key does or do a combination key press type of thing with your software, you got that built into the control center, which is cool. Flexi charger, here's the flexi charger thing. Maximum battery charge, go to 100%. Recommended is charge the battery when under 70%, stop at 80%. Yes, this is usually what I would recommend to most people. You can also do a custom battery charge to set it to a certain amount. If you know you're not going to be taking it all away from the wall, I'd recommend going down to probably 60% charge and just keeping it at 60. That's it. That's the whole thing. That is the entire Gigabyte control center right there. All right. I mean, you got for the control center, you got all your essentials. The main issue I have is just this UI element where you have performance, entertainment, and quiet. And then underneath each of those, you have additional fan modes that are just different for some reason. And it just doesn't make any sense. Okay. Nice. Webcam quality. Let's check out the camera. Okay. We are recording a video now. And we're going to tap. Hello. Hey. Yes. Ha ha ha. So we're typing and we're talking. Also notice there's a little webcam indicator light at the top. Very nice. So that way you know whenever the webcam is being powered on, so you're not taken by surprise from someone watching you. Overall, this webcam appears to be pretty well color balanced and some pretty good detail in the beard hair. You can individually see my beard hairs in the video, which is very good. You can see the Lumix and GH5. Overall, this is an above average webcam. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but let's go ahead and let's check out some of these amazing pictures. The main issue I'd say is the noise. There's quite a bit of noise, even though I'm in a brightly lit studio type of environment. We still have quite a bit of noise on the image itself, you know, which is, it's pretty weird to see so much noise. So, but that said, it's a pretty decent little webcam if you're just going to chat with some people or use it for a live stream or something. Let's check out the audio quality. And I'm going to turn the mic up on the laptop. Where's the mic in? Where's the volume button? Is there a volume up? There's got to be a volume up somewhere. Can't find it at first glance. It's got to be here somewhere. Chat, where is our volume up hotkey? Keyboard brightness down and up. Screen lock, sleep, airplane mode. Screenshot or maybe webcam button. Brightness down and up. Monitor. Volume down and up. Okay, there's the volume down and up. It's just a really weird looking icon that threw me for a loop right there. Volume mute as well. Or maybe microphone mute. No, that is volume mute. All right, and then touchpad disable and escape. And then you also have the tilde key doubling as a pause play hotkey, which is non-standard, but it's, at least they got that in there somewhere. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what the audio sounds like. We are recording a video now. And we're going to tap. Hello. Yes. So we're typing and we're talking. Also notice there's a little webcam indicator light at the top. Very nice. So that way you know whenever the webcam is... Well, those speakers are coming through loud and clear, and it's a bit, I mean, it's a bit raspy sounding, I think. But overall, I would say that the audio was pretty good. Let's hear, did I show the video quality? And we're going to tap. Hello. Yes. Yeah, so that's the video quality. We're talking. Also notice there's a little webcam indicator light at the top. Very nice. So that way you know whenever the webcam is being powered on. Okay. Yeah, I'd probably give the webcam a 7.5 overall. It definitely has room for improvement, but 7.5 at this day and age is pretty good for a budget laptop. I'll give it that. All right. Keyboard and mouse testing. So keyboard is soft chiclet style, and it's kind of a mesh. All right. Kind of a mesh feel to it. If you press down on one keyboard pretty heavily, the other keys kind of flex around it a little bit, but I don't think that's too big of an issue. The tilde, tab, caps lock, and shift keys feel maybe a little bit small, and some of these keys, like along the top here, maybe feel just a little bit small, but overall, I found typing on this to be just fine and something that you can adapt to. It's nice that it has a full-size number pad over here on the right as well. And you got a lot of secondary and primary key functions on this keyboard that work just fine and work well. Give you a lot of functionality, including dedicated home and page up, page down buttons, the numpad, divide, multiply, minus, subtract, another home and page up, page down if num key is disabled. So you have like double options there. And then of course you have all the brightness, volume, pause, play, and keyboard accessible shortcuts there. And then the Windows Copilot button right here, which is pretty useless for most people, but still, it's going to be a decent keyboard. I give it like a 7 out of 10. It's not going to be your highest end keyboard, but it'll be great for typing, and it'll have a backlight. If you're in a dark environment, it'll work well to type in a dark environment. So that's a nice advantage there. Interesting. I want to add my overhead cam here to this. Top down. There we go. Okay. So let's talk touchpad. Touchpad is plastic. It is a little bit mushy feeling. Clicking. The click is not great in terms of tactile feel, but it's not terrible. It'll get the job done. You know, most people are going to be using a external mouse on a gaming laptop anyway, but mainly going to use this when you're on the go, and it'll work just fine for on the go. This does feel very smooth considering I'm pretty sure it's a plastic trackpad. But yeah, overall trackpad, I would give it, again, only about a 7, probably. Like very, very average-ish for your trackpad in terms of quality. The main issue is I think the click could be a lot more rigid and tactile feeling. It's got a pretty deep click, which maybe some people will like that, but regardless, whenever it does click, I want it to feel like very shunky, like very tightly controlled. And this one just has like a bit of a deeper down in before you hit that point, and I want to be able to control it more clearly. Makes it a lot easier to double click and make sure you don't accidentally click, stuff like that. Okay. Time to do our display test. See how bright this Gigabyte G6X is. Here we go. Got to put the code in here. Do 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 do. All right. Loading it up. So I'm guessing we are going to be getting around a 250 to 300 nits is the range I'm thinking we're going to test in. And then I think we're going to be probably 70% sRGB. Basically, a very standard budget display is my understanding. We are at maximum display brightness right now. I mean, I can see just looking at the color saturation that it's not as colorful of a laptop display. Hammer Joe says, it looks like a normal keyboard, LOL, which is great. Yeah, I mean, it is. But it's like for when you're dealing with laptops, you know, you're dealing with more than just like, does it have all the normal keyboard function? Like, does it actually feel good to type on? Is it an important question for keyboard quality? Does it have good key travel depth? Does it have good hotkey layout? All of those things I think matter quite a bit. Does it have an FN lock function, which I don't think this does. FN lock function would let you switch the key function on all these F1 through 12 keys to either being, for example, F5 for volume down or F5 to refresh. So like your normal standard F5 function. So that's kind of a downside with this keyboard. No FN lock. But yeah, overall, I think most people will be just fine with this keyboard. It's not like it's not a bad keyboard. And I think once you get used to it, it'll be just about as good as any other keyboard. It's just not going to be super premium feeling. You're not going to feel super special with per key RGB lighting, for example. All right, maximum brightness test. Here we go. Let's see what we get. Ooh, oh, okay. Well, that is about what I expected. Pretty much. All right, so we're looking at a very budget display. 63% of sRGB. So keep in mind, Spider 5 Elite underestimates by about 7 or 8%. I'm just going to say 7. So we're looking at 70% of sRGB, 54% of Adobe, 54% of P3 color gamut. Brightness. We actually busted 325 for our max brightness. That is brighter than I thought it was going to be. But this color gamut is, I mean, that's pretty much what I said, right? I said 70%, and that's right on the money with what we got for sRGB, which is pretty low color gamut. 325 nits brightness on the brightness, which is better than the Alienware I tested, which was like an $1,800 laptop. So at least it is brighter than many laptops. And for a budget laptop, that's pretty good. But, I mean, this thing's currently what, like 1,100 something? So at that price, this is just average brightness probably. 1320 to 1 contrast ratio is above average though. So good contrast. I'd say average or maybe slightly above average for brightness, and below average color gamut. So overall, your gaming experiences will be bright enough to see in most environments, but they're not going to be as colorful and vibrant. And I don't think I would recommend this if you're trying to create content. If your goal is to be a content creator, photographer, video editor, I would recommend a laptop with a higher color gamut display. In 2024, it's pretty mediocre, isn't it? Yes. But this is also a budget, like this is designed to be a budget laptop. So it's competing with other laptops that will have a similar color gamut. But, you know, like at the beginning of the live stream, I went over a number of laptops that have better displays. Like some of them had 400, 300 nits, 500 nits, I think on one of them even. And they're only like $1,000 or $1,100. So you can definitely get a way better display quality for the money. So don't get this for the display unless you are getting it for other reasons, or maybe because it's just a lot cheaper in your country. You know, that might be one of the main reasons to get this laptop over some of the other ones on the market. Okay, so speaker test with decibel meter and fan noise testing is next. All right. So we're going to pull this up. I'm going to have to turn off my AC. All right, let's get the sound meter out here. Slide the camera back. Beautiful. And we're going to turn off the AC now. Okay, so here we are. Peter Spacey Roar. Okay, so sound quality is pretty meh. The bass is pretty meh. The clarity on the mids and highs is pretty meh. But overall volume was pretty good. It was like 84 decibels, so that's pretty good. We're doing Faded Aeon Half-Life next, which may be a little bit better sounding. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, well, when the mids and highs were playing by itself, it sounded pretty decent. And the overall volume got pretty loud into like the 85 range. Deuce Williams' La La Love You Like is next.
I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la 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 la. I love you like la la la.
Yeah, so those mids sounded pretty good for the vocals. I'd say probably the best out of them. Maybe the highs sounded pretty decent too. Overall volume was pretty loud. It got up to like 85, 86 decibels. which is good for just general video game audio. I mean, if you just need to hear the game you're playing and that's it, I mean, it'll sound like the game you're playing and you can hear what you're doing, but it's not going to be anything amazing, right? Like, this is not going to be a high quality audio system. I give them a 7 overall, but at least you got decent volume to them, to the speakers. Okay, so next we're going to do our fan noise testing and 3D Mark testing. So we're going to find out how loud these fans can truly get. And I think we're only going to test 4 modes. We'll do performance maximum and performance automatic. Then we'll do entertainment automatic and quiet. We'll do entertainment noiseless. Yeah, that sounds good. Performance maximum is going to be our first type of fans we'll test. I think this will be our highest performance. So we can already see our audio in the room. Might have to get a new battery for this noise thing, showing me a low battery warning. Oh, right. I had this all configured, but then we turned off the mux switch, or we flipped the mux switch so that removed all our GPU data. Okay. Nice. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and see how loud this thing is. .3 decibels is pretty good for a max fans. That's not too loud. Let's go ahead and switch. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our performance numbers. Taking a look at our performance numbers here in 3D Mark. 105 watts. We're hitting it. We're hitting that maximum wattage, which is great to see. 2600 on the boost clock is also very good. 2550, 2560. That's almost like an overclock. Our GPU temperature at 66 degrees is also excellent. CPU at 61 is superb. Only 21, 24 watts going through that CPU is super efficient. 29 is very good. Right now, this laptop is cranking. It's very efficient, and we're getting basically near max performance for this RTX 4060. This is a big step up from the Gigabyte G6 from 2023 that only had 70 watts of GPU performance. So, giant thumbs up right there for that. Let's go ahead and switch it over to automatic fan mode now, and we'll give it a couple minutes to adjust. And we'll see if that changes our power limits or anything like that. I want to make this one size bigger, I think. Yes. Okay. little bit easier for you guys to see. So under automatic, we're getting very similar power pulls, very similar clock speed on the GPU. Our fan noise has gone down, but our temperatures also went up about 5 degrees so far. So we're not quite pushing as icy of temps, but 70s or high 60s, low 70s is still excellent temperatures overall, though it's only been a couple minutes now. B7ZE says, question. For laptops you test in general, are the balanced medium presets very tolerable with noise level, with noise over the higher power preset options? I'm interested in high power 4090, 5090 laptops. B7, it just depends on the laptop and what type of machine you're really looking at. If you're looking at 4090, 5090, then you're looking at ideally probably going up to 175 watts of power going through the GPU, which usually requires a lot more cooling. Now, if you're okay with the GPU not pulling the full 175 watts, it's usually pretty easy to keep the laptop a lot quieter. Like if you're only pulling 135 or 125 watts through there, you can still play almost all games quite well at that lower wattage pull, but the fan noise usually can be really, really minimal at that. But if you're trying to go for something super quiet and super powerful, then maybe going for something like the XMG Neo 16 with the water cooler, because then you get something that's quiet and maximum power in the same machine at the same time. Anyway, let's go ahead and see how loud this thing is now. (49.7 decibels). So we're under 50 decibels now, which is great. Our temperatures are still in the low 70s, high 60s. Overall, that's very good. Let's go ahead and switch our fan profile. We're going to go to entertainment. Entertainment set to automatic fans. What does that do for us? Entertainment, automatic fans, drops us to an 80 watt power limit on the GPU. We're also looking at 29 watts on the CPU. Temperatures are excellent. The fans, I think, have gotten even quieter now, which is great. Let's go ahead and see what our audio is looking like now. Only 43.6 decibels. That is super quiet. Very impressive. Let's go to noiseless mode. Noiseless mode has been engaged. All right. What does that do to our power limits? Did not change our power limits at all. 80 watts, 30 watts. It's the same as it was. The fans are still pretty much going. Wow, those fans are really quiet. 41.5 decibels is super quiet. It is still audible to my ears, though. The fans are going just a little bit. I'm impressed. If we go to quiet automatic, what does that do? Quiet automatic. We're looking at 70 watts TDP. Again, temperatures are excellent. This is going to be enough performance to actually play some games. Let's see what our overall fan noise is now. .6 decibels. Whew, that is quiet. I'm very impressed with how quiet that is. At this point, I don't think I hear the G6X. I think I just hear the Blade 18 going right now. That is very impressive. Extremely quiet and still able to play some games. I think you are going to struggle with some games, though, because we're only getting 15 watts to the CPU now. 65 to the GPU is pretty good, but 15 to the CPU is going to chug, chug, chug in a lot of the newer titles. TimeSpy itself is only getting like 30-ish FPS right now, so that's not that good. So performance. Maximum. That's how we'll be testing it today for our TimeSpy run. Turn my AC back on. It's already getting kind of warm in here. Let's go ahead and run TimeSpy now. All right, so we're just going to do TimeSpy with our standard run. So B7ZE, did I answer your question well enough? So in my experience, the Blade 18 is probably one of the best balanced presets over the higher power preset option. Like the Blade laptops in general do a really good job blending. And same for the Asus Strix series. I mean, most of the laptops do a pretty good job blending the balanced preset with the medium to low fan noise and giving you good performance at the same time. But it does usually cut the power limit down in the balanced preset from the maximum 175 down to like maybe 135 to 150 depending on the laptop. And that does cut into your performance a little bit, but you still get the vast majority of performance. So it's really not too big a deal. All right, so we're in the maximum power profile. We're running TimeSpy here. We're going to see what we get for our test. Our goal, of course, I think, is we want over 10,000. Probably 10,500 would be a good score. All right, so taking a look at our charts here. Frame time graph is looking pretty consistent. It's good to see. 65 degrees Celsius, 60 on the CPU. Temperatures are looking excellent. GPU utilization is superb at 100%. 105 watts on average is excellent. GPU boost clock, 2600 something, is excellent. CPU clock speed 4.7, 4.9 is excellent. 330-ish watts too on that CPU is excellent. Overall, it appears the laptop to be tuned well and performing precisely as expected given the internal components that Gigabyte has provided on the inside. So, giant thumbs up so far. CPU test is next. Let's see the wattage pull on the CPU. Well, Afterburner never pulled up. It's okay. Okay, so very good scores overall. Wow. 10,755 is a little bit more than I was anticipating. So that's great to see. 13,537 for the CPU score is also better than I was anticipating. That's a good CPU gaming score for a more budget-oriented gaming laptop. So from a 4060 perspective, we're performing well. And from a CPU perspective, we got the CPU gaming chops to not be limited by our processor. All right, so next, let's go over the ATA 64 RAM speed and CrystalDiskMark speed testing that I've already done. So ATA 64 memory test. You can see we got 68,000 for our read, 66 for our write, 64 for our copy. And latency was 96 nanoseconds, which is not terrible, not great. I think this is a pretty average RAM speed score overall and represents good RAM. No issues with the RAM speed at all. CrystalDiskMark, unfortunately, did have some slow testing. I was not able to get consistently good tests on the write speeds for some reason. I don't know the reason why. I did run the test multiple times, and I did get a fast test with the secondary sequential going 2200 on the first test, but only 100 on the big file size. And then when I did it again, it got 4500 on the write and only 100 on the secondary. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe something was downloading or writing in the background while the test was happening, but something was messing up and causing things to not test properly. But I would generally assume we're looking at 4900 read, 4500 write, and 2200 read and write for the secondary sequential. So overall, looking at a very fast SSD. I haven't had any issues with the SSD in gaming or playing. It's been working reliably for me, though the speed testing for some reason was a little wonky. Cinebench R23 is next. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll do a Cinebench R23 with a CPU run to see how much watts we're going to pull on this laptop. We'll have HW info pulled up. We're going to pull up Process Lasso as well and make sure that's installed. And we're just going to do that so we can find it easily at the top. CPU above normal priority. On. Cinebench R23, and let's see what we get. Okay, so wow, right off the bat, we are spicy temperaturing it up. 110 watts, 120 watts peak. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you can see this a little better. So we're pulling high watts, high power through the system. We're definitely seeing some good performance here, but we're also seeing some spicy temps. 17,172 is, I think, really good for this processor. i7-13650H. Let's run it again. Let's just focus here on Cinebench R23. We'll let this run, do one complete run, and then we'll do some additional performance monitoring and HW info. And of course, we're going to look for a long-term power limit as well. $17,775. That's good. For a budget-oriented laptop, you know, that's good value. CPU package, 99 degrees. Basically, we're being CPU thermal throttled right now. We're bumping into the maximum CPU temperature, and we're getting thermal throttling across the different cores. Let's see here. It looks like one core in particular, P core number 5, is firing off about 10 degrees warmer than everything else. And that's causing the CPU to slow down a little bit. It's really unfortunate because it could probably score a little bit higher. It could probably score a little bit higher if we weren't maxing the temp on P core number 5. Probably means that that core in particular is not covered properly for CPU paste and is probably just overheating a little bit more than it needs to. So if we were to repaste this laptop, we may see a performance bump for the CPU performance, especially if we use a higher quality thermal paste. And since we're being thermal throttled in general, you could also add a laptop cooling pad, and that would also boost our CPU performance just a little bit. So far we have not slowed down really much. Right around 17,000 for all of our runs so far, with our best run being right around 17,700. So our P cores, our 6 P cores, 3.8 gigahertz on our P cores, 3.2 to 3.3 gigahertz on the E cores. They're looking good. Overall performance on the machine is looking good for a budget-oriented machine. The main issue, just this one core, is overheating. And that said, we're still getting lots of power to go through the CPU. It's running a nice, consistent performance level. And so this is also the kind of thing that it may be affecting this unit, and it'll be less likely to affect other units. You know, so honestly, this may be a below average testing G6X compared to other G6Xs that have a little bit better CPU or even CPU paste job. You might get another few hundred points out of it. $90 to $88. right around 90 watts basically long term. We've ran this, what is about our 8th or 9th run now, and it's been staying nice and steady, consistent with the power pull. 16,800 on that one, or 16,790 I think was what it technically was. Some P cores were around 4 gigahertz for a little bit there, but 3.7, 3.8, 3.2, 3.3 for the E cores. Yeah, I mean, we're cranking. And this thing is running great overall. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up for Cinebench R23 performance. Even though it does have that one core that's overheating it, it's still within the safe temperature range. It's just slowing the system down just a little bit. But we're still getting good enough performance out of it that I feel like you're still getting 95+% performance out of the potential system, which is good enough to where it's nothing's being crippled or anything like that. So, but know that it could be better. Like, it's not a perfect situation right now that we got going on in Cinebench R23. Let's go to our next test, which is going to be, I believe, Apex Legends. So time to see if this display has ghosting, which honestly, it might. Let's find out. And today, we have 2 new games, by the way. I don't know if you saw. Black Myth Wukong will be tested today, along with God of War Ragnarok. So I bought 2 new games for game testing, rotating in 2 of the new titles this year to give us some new variety and to just do some more benchmarks on more games for more data. More data is more better, as Jared says, which I do agree with. Okay. I think I'm going to make this smaller again. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep Apex Legends long term for testing. I love the game, but it is based on recent performance. The game itself has a player base going down. So I may need to find another esports game for my ghosting testing. I'm not sure which one to use. Should I use Valorant? If I were to move to another esports game, chat, what game would you recommend? We've got Counterstrike 2 already in the game list technically, but I wonder if I could get into that Valve MOBA game that they're making. That's kind of like, I think, isn't it kind of like Overwatch meets Dota or something? That one might be interesting to test. Okay, so our first test is going to be on max settings. Nice. It says auto sprint is enabled, but it is. Okay, there it goes. I did not enable it. Okay, so this is a 165 hertz refresh rate display. What is going on with that? Okay, for a moment there, it was just... It was going forward when I was no longer pressing the go forward button, which may have just been an Apex glitch, but that's fine. All right. So, our goal is 165 FPS at the top up here. Let's see if we can do it. I don't think we are going to. All right, I'm looking at this image right now. And I can tell you this display does not feel... It feels a little bit ghosty. All right? We'll see if it gets any better when I go to low settings. Like, don't get me wrong, I can still play on this. But it's not an ideal gaming display. Like, I move quickly. I can see a little bit of an after image blur on the guy. So 160, 100, like we're right around the target FPS. Just shy of it, even on max settings. 160 FPS. Let's go to low settings now. $232, 240. Okay, so we are now over the target FPS, which is great. Yeah, I can see just a little bit of ghosting on this display when I move things really fast. It's minor, but definitely a little bit of ghosting. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the lobby. Why is Apex player base going down? I think it's probably... I mean, it's not that it's a bad game. I think it's just people don't feel like the game is as fresh anymore as it used to be, and they haven't added enough freshness to it when compared to things like, you know, Fortnite is so good at constantly adding in and injecting freshness into their meta and into their game style with completely new weapons like every couple weeks practically, new game modes and complete map revisions every few months. And Apex does that, but it's like once every 4 months, and they're not as revolutionary or interesting. But it's because EA has the reverse Midas touch. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, EA does kind of struggle. So one thing I want to point out is the power limit's very interesting. In actual gameplay, we're getting 75 watts to the CPU and 80 to the GPU. So we're not pulling the max GPU wattage like we were in Time Spy. But at the same time, we're cranking that FPS. So it's fine, in my opinion. Got him. He thought he'd be able to get me.
Recharging my shields. 1 sec. Charging shields. Come on, come on.
I think we got enemies in here. Let's go.
Giving my shields a recharge.
Recharging my shield. One sec. Charging on my shield.
Ooh, I got murdered real fast. Look at our FPS though. It's cranking 285, 206. So we're well above our target FPS of 165. So it's hard not to be super happy about that. Like, that's very good.
Giving my shields a recharge.
Recharging my shields. One sec.
Giving my shields a recharge.
I ran away from the light combat. Let's go. Must go faster.
Oh, no. How's my team doing right now? We are tied for the lead. I'm not a big fan of the L-Star, but I'm going to try to see if we can get a kill here. Yes. Oh, no. Too many people. Oh. It's close. Alternator, no powerful enough.
Making contact.
More like my aim is bad. I saw a guy down here. Where are you? Oh my gosh. It's just a bunch of people coming in there. Just a graveyard. Go teammate. You got this. Wait, whoa! No. That person just had to tickle me. Well, someone else has almost won already. They're 2 kills away from winning. I don't think our team's going to win this. But let's see if we can get another kill or two here. Just have some fun. This is where it's a little bit harder. No, I had to be the game losing kill too. Ah. GG's, everybody. All right. Apex Legends, it's good, but let's face it, the screen ghosting, that's why I lost. So, just kidding. All right, Baldur's Gate 3 is next. I mean, admittedly, it is harder to aim when the image is just a little bit fudgy. Fudgy is the only way I can describe it. You know, there's no. It's just lower response rate display with quick movement. And it's just like you're trying to make a precise aiming adjustment. I mean, you can still play pretty good. Don't get me wrong. But it does impact gameplay performance, in my opinion, a little bit. All right, no VSync. Ultra quality settings. DLSS on quality. We'll load back into the game. Let's see what we get. Joe says, go for the finals or Valorant. I wonder what the finals is, because I don't think I've heard of that before. All right, so it's very typical to see some stuttering as we switch between characters and turns, but let's see if it does it a lot. Right now, 1% low is over 100, which is very high. There's a stutter right there. Hey, this is playing really smoothly. Finals is like Overwatch, kind of. It's on Steam for free. Oh, okay. I might have to check it out. Okay, so we averaged 186 with 78 for a 1% low. That's really good for a 1% low. So giant thumbs up there. Overall performance is quite good. Again, looking at our CPU GPU pull, actual games pulling higher wattage on the CPU than in TimeSpy, not giving us the maximum wattage to the GPU. I feel like I feel like we could be maxing the wattage on the GPU in this game, but maybe not. We'll have to see if we can get maximum wattage maybe in Black Myth Wukong. Let's find out. Britt Allen says, are you at home? So this is the new home for me. I have moved back into my Airstream. And so if you don't know what my Airstream is, I'll just need to make a tour video of it, but it's a RV. It's an RV that looks kind of like this. I'm no longer with my former partner. We had our house, and that's where my studio used to be. So I've created a studio in my RV, and that's where I'm at right now. It's nice being able to travel and move around, go where I want again, be a single man. All right, so we will go to our settings and check what our display settings are at. We are on borderless. 1920 by 1200 resolution, no frame cap, no VSync. Motion blur is on. We're at 66% super resolution. DLSS is on. Frame generation is on. Ray tracing, let's turn it on. Very high. We're going to go to graphics preset, cinematic. So everything is maxed out. All right, full ray tracing, cinematic graphics. Let's run the benchmark. Here we go. Yeah, Britt, I'm doing a lot better. It was a little bit rough there for a bit, you know, as it always is in a breakup, but I'm doing quite well, man. Thanks for asking. Clark says, "Nice. You should have a YouTube channel for your RV adventures. We'll watch." I actually do. I haven't posted to it in a couple years or a few years, but it's just Brandon Baldwin Vlogs, I think, and I have a bunch of travel videos. And I filmed a bunch of other ones that I haven't uploaded yet. I should upload them. So right now, we're using 16.6 gigs of RAM, 80 watts to the GPU again, not maxing the GPU, even though we definitely could in this game. Frame rate with frame gen right now, 62 on average, 51 for our 1% low. Yeah, so this is a game where I really wish we were pulling the 105 watts to the GPU, because that would be, I think, translating directly to more performance. Our VRAM is not maxed. We have 8 gigs of VRAM, and we're at 6.7 right now. Temperatures are looking very good at 70, 59, 60, 66, 69. It's just Brandon Baldwin Vlogs. I think it should be on my referred channels or related channels on my channel. If you look up at the About page or the links nearby to it. Yeah, Brandon Baldwin Vlogs. That's the name of the channel, I think. So this is going to be very playable frame rates at 59 FPS, 49. But since we have frame gen on, I like to target closer to, 90 FPS if we're going to use frame gen. So for that reason, I would say we probably want to return down ray tracing. Turn it off a full ray tracing or something. Or maybe turn off cinematic. That'd be our other option. But let's actually hop into a fight too, because maybe this benchmark is a little tougher than it actually is. We average 60 FPS on the dot. So I played a little bit of this, beat, 7 or 8 bosses, and I had a lot of fun. Black Myth Wukong is a good game. It's a lot like Elden Ring, but with Chinese culture, basically. Like an infusion of Chinese culture and lore. Okay, so in game, we're getting 85. This is probably enough. See if we can find some people to fight. I don't know which way to go to find combat. Maybe through this gate? Yes, through this gate we'll be able to fight this guy. This guy's tough. So this is the boss I was working on.
Why so eager to die? You could walk away.
Right. Okay, I gotta remember the dodge buttons and this guy's combos. Oh, okay, I already died. We average an 81 FPS, 52 for our 1% low. I mean, we could probably play at these settings in the middle of a fight, getting that much FPS is pretty dang good. Yeah, it's been a little while since I played Black Myth Wukong, though, so... So we just call this game BMW? Does that sound about right?
Sally, out to the left and have dinner first.
Now we're getting 66 FPS.
You have ruined everything.
So the benchmark's close, but the benchmark may actually be a little bit hard, like overly difficult compared to actual gameplay, because this is actually a boss fight. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm getting my butt kicked so much. I mean, this is one of those games where you gotta die to the boss a bunch of times before you actually can win, usually. Ow. Oh no. I got him over. I feel pretty happy. I got him under 50% health, so 73 FPS, 49 for a 1% low. It's good. I just wish we were getting 105 watts to the GPU, and we definitely be getting boosting our FPS because this is a very GPU bound game, even at 1080p. VRAM, we're not limited, but we're very close. Overall, good enough gameplay, even at max settings. But I probably would turn something down to give me a little bit more. Looks like Counterstrike needs a quick update before it's going to let us play. We got 5 more games. Counter-Strike 2, Cyberpunk 2077, God of War, God of War Ragnarok, and then The Witcher 3. I'm very curious to see performance of God of War versus God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok, I was playing it for about an hour on the Gigabyte G6X after I downloaded it, and man, it is such a good game. At least the opening hour and a half of it is really, really good. It just feels so cinematically immersive. It just feels so good to play. I don't know. I love that kind of game too, so. Okay, so no VSync. Reflex is enabled. We're going to go to the very high quality settings. We're going to go seal show FPS 1. Deathmatch Dust 2, go.
bastard.
Playing on cell phone internet right now. Sometimes it can be a little bit. Sometimes it can be a little bit leggy, you know. Wow, we are cruising right now. We got 5 kills, 0 deaths so far. I mean, they couldn't handle the goodness, you know. All right. So what we're getting, like over 100 FPS. Dennis says, "Hey Gizmo, I'm looking for an 18-inch gaming laptop. I don't play games like Cyberpunk or Red Dead. I need a nice display, build quality, and reliable machine. My question is, would you advise me to buy something like from Black Friday, discount now, or wait for the Series 5000 laptops? Thank you." So, Dennis, I got to know a little bit more. Like, what are you going to play? You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to play Cyberpunk, are you going to play competitive shooters? Are you going to play nothing? Are you a content creator? You know, I got to know what you're looking to do with it before I know what kind of laptop to recommend to you. You don't want to pay a lot. Something between budget and premium. You're probably looking at... Between budget and premium... Wow, we are cruising right now. Is probably the Acer Predator Helios 18. That has the 4060 version of that is the cheapest 18-inch laptop on the market. It is quite large though, so you're gonna be a bit out of sorts in terms of size. But I mean, all 18-inch laptops are going to be huge. So that's probably what I'd recommend. You're going to play competitive shooter, Hearts of Iron 4. Yeah, you'd probably be good. Auto shotty sucks. Oh. Chihuahua. Oh, we were in first. Hey, we're in first now. What is going on with my aim down sights? It's not working. Okay, it's working now. Aye! Oh, I did 79 to him. I hit him with the op, but it wasn't enough to kill him.